Welcome to American Survival Guide Television with your host, Amber Hargrove.
Hi guys, Amber Hargrove here, and welcome to American Survival Guide Magazine TV. We have with us Peter Kohler. Welcome, brother. How are you doing?
Doing great. You know, I deal with a certain niche community. So I'm a knife maker. I'm a bladesmith. I also have a knife production company, and I'm a designer for another company. But, you know, as a crafts person, you know, who's making a living by hand right now, it is a very, very scary time. And so for me, because of where I am in the industry, I'm trying to be as much of, as I don't want to say a leader because there's a lot of leaders, but as much of a positive influence through my experience on others as I can be. So, you know, for me right now, in June, there's the largest knife show in the world that happens. That's Blade Show in Atlanta. And for me, that's a third of my income each year happens at that show. Because my books are closed. They've been closed for about 5 years. And really, if you want a knife and you're not already in my books, that's the only way you can get one, unless you can score one of our mid-tech knives. And so, you know, that's gone now. So trying to manage how do you make an income as a self-employed person who makes living by hand in, you know, really, like, you know, $1,000 knife is not a necessary commodity. So how do you survive in that situation? So that's the first part. Like, so the first part for me is managing those expectations and trying to, like, make sure that I'm safe and secure in my business. And then also, you know, my group is almost 17,000 people on that closed group, and I'm talking to them every day and trying to be real with them and to be a positive influence on them on what they can be doing to keep their families and their lives safe right now. And I mean that on all different levels.
Exactly. I've watched you homeschool your children, Ivy and Ford. We get to see that. And it's the sweetest thing. And you went from being this tough knife maker, outdoor survivalist, to this teacher at home with your kids. And it looks like you love doing it and spending that one-on-one time with them like that.
Yeah. So I've spoken on my feeds about one of the very few benefits of having this pandemic and having these kids be home is that, you know, first, I think there's a really positive effect on the young kids. They're going to live through a hardship, and it's going to make them better survivalists, if you want to say that. You know, I've never considered myself a survivalist per se. I have survived many situations in the outdoors, and I hunt, I make knives. I've been very close to death in the outdoors, but, you know, I'm skilled out there. But what I think, you know, when we talk about being a survivalist on a greater level, I think you're looking at, you know, these kids are going to have skills that last them much farther down the line, because they're going to be able to eat whatever food you put in front of them, because you're going to tell them, hey, this is all the food we have right now. You can't just have whatever you want. You're in quarantine. My kids know what quarantine means. You know, they're becoming stronger individuals, I believe, because of this experience. And also parents are having to teach their kids at home and find out, hey, there are some benefits to teaching your own kids. This is actually, you know, bringing me closer to them in that way. And I'm more proud of them, and they might feel closer to me. So I think in that way, it's been a huge benefit in that one area. You know, it's hard though to be you can't work when when your kids are at home. So that work-life balance is even more difficult right now for everyone.
No, definitely. I see you. And the biggest thing for me is watching you. And when you talk about incidents online about preparing yourself, protecting your home, you know, stocking up on food, and also medicine out there, and working on your own immune system to protect yourself from this virus going on. it's intriguing and it's very inspirational to other people who are your followers as well, Peter, because your voice expands very far with them, especially in the knife community. I see you in different parts of Facebook throughout there, which is nice to see you in the knife world. But also you mentioned you had a brush with death multiple times being in the outdoors. Can you elaborate on that for us?
I mean, yeah, I don't want to get too gruesome. But
please do.
Let me speak to I have almost lost my life twice because of sharp objects. The first time, I didn't know what to do and basically was just bleeding to death. And the story is just ugly. I tried everything that a normal person might do. I took my belt. I had severed my foot at my ankle and hit an artery and was bleeding out. And so, I did everything I could to try and stop the bleeding. I didn't do everything I could. I did everything at that time that I knew to do. So I took my belt, tied it around. I had tied it around the bottom of my knee instead of the top of my knee. So as you know, as a survivalist, that's not the joint. You got to be above a joint, and I really came close to death that time. Like, the lights were going out, but I did manage to get myself to safety. The better story, though, is the one where actually those survival skills had been learned, and I understood the importance of being prepared. So I was in the woods up in the mountains with Aaron Christopher Malone. He's got a YouTube channel called Gideon's Tactical. It's a pretty well-known channel, many subscribers. And you can see my work on that channel too. But we were up, and we were actually photographing that day. We were testing knives and photographing. And I had a knife that was in a log. It was a huge knife, this massive knife, and I actually still have that knife today. It's known as the panty dropper. So if you get on the Dark Timber Brotherhood, you can go and see the panty dropper. That's the name of that knife. So it was in a log, and it was extremely windy, and the wind was blowing, and the log that the knife was in fell over, and I just felt something on the top of my knee. I mean, I barely felt anything. The knives are very, very sharp. And I stand up, and it felt like I had peed my pants because it was warm and wet running down my leg. And I go, what the heck is that? Just above my knee, I had another arterial bleed that had cut down into that artery. But this time, the difference was, and we were about 15 miles on an off-road trail up in the mountains, probably at about 11,000 feet. And there was no internet service there. And basically, at that time I had learned my lesson. I always had the kit with me. I had a cauterizing powder, which, by the way, this was the wrong thing to do because it was an arterial bleed. I could have caused a clot in an artery. But the first thing we did, we wanted to stop that bleeding because it was so bad. We cleaned it up. I had alcohol swabs. We cleaned off the surface. That really hurt. And then we poured that cauterizing powder into the wound. And what it basically does is it just burns it. And I don't know if you've ever seen Rambo or any Rambo, but he does that big, yell out loud. I mean, literally birds, if it was like, if you were filming from far away, it would have been like the great outdoors and birds would have been flying up into the air. You know what I mean? From the yell, that high yell.
Yes.
But it just didn't stop that bleeding. And basically Aaron stuck his thumb into my leg and just pressed and put enough pressure on it. And I had a tourniquet. We tied it as tight as we could. We got to the car as quickly as we could. Now, so this is the thing about those moments. Once you've been there once, that second time, you're going to be calm, which is what I hope happens for people in this situation with the pandemic and with having, being prepared and being ready. I hope that they become more calm. So, if there's anything you could take from that experience. But so I was more calm in this situation. I knew that I could die. He knew I could die. We got the tourniquet. We wrapped it above the knee, cut off that bleeding completely, got into the Jeep and just hit it until, going down the mountain. got on the phone with 911. They said to stay where we are. But now it took us a while because we were doing about, this tube track is like, maybe you can do 15 miles an hour. We were doing about 30, just jumping that Jeep up and down. My leg was so, if you've ever had a tourniquet tied on you and you're bleeding out, that below that feels like a balloon, and it's just pumping up and pumping up and pumping up.
Pressure.
Yep, the pressure is extreme, and so this story will culminate in a funny little portion of that too. But so finally we get service, call 911. They're like, "Stay where you are." I'm like, "F you, you're meeting us. This is the mile marker." We got to the first mile marker. I'm like, "Stay on the phone." I'm like, "I'm gonna die. You stay on the phone." Because in those situations, once you're calm, you become a boss. You become a leader in that situation. You say, "No, I'm not doing that. I know that I will not survive if that's what's happening," because, and maybe I would have. The tourniquet was tight. I don't know what would have happened. I probably had more time than I felt. I'd lost a good deal of blood. I was a little bit lightheaded, but unlike the first situation, my wits were still with me. We got to a main highway, and I just said, this is the mile marker I see, and they're going down. I'm not going to stop doing 100 miles an hour until I see you guys. So you just keep coming towards me, and I'll keep telling you what mile marker I'm at. Because I wasn't trying to wait. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you're in that situation, and you're like, look, give me a ticket. I'm going to die. I don't really care whatever it is.
Oh my gosh.
So we get to EMS. They put me in the ambulance, and I have a medical background, and so I know what I did in this scenario was wrong. Okay. But I was like, "Yo, my leg feels like it's about to explode." And the guy's like, "For no reason can we undo that tourniquet." And I was like, "Listen, brother, either you do or I do. But either way, you're going to have to watch out, because I'm going to be squirting blood," because it just was horrible. And so I loosened it up, shot blood across the truck, and then tied it back. They were real pissed off, but my leg felt so much better. And, spoiler alert is that I ended up living. So, yeah.
Wow, Peter, that is so intense that you actually went through that. I think I watched.
That was the second time I went through that.
Wow. And I think you did a whole entire story on it on YouTube as well. I do believe you talked behind the scenes, and something like that is a lesson learned. Like you said, how calm you were. And then the only thing that played against you was having that medical background where you're like, "Hold up. This is how you want it to go down. You poor thing." I can only imagine the pressure and the pain. Just doing training, like, whoa, geez. I'm glad you survived, Peter.
But the thing is like I said, all survival situations, and this from your extensive background, probably the second time you went on to Naked and Afraid, or the third time you were on Naked and Afraid, you're like, "Oh, in this situation, this is how I'm going to approach it." Now, that feeling in your chest. And that's what I'm saying. I really hope people, and I'm preaching this, people need to learn. This is the first time for all of us, but they gotta start stop pretending like it's a dress rehearsal. Start knowing that this is the real deal. I've been preaching, it's time to circle the wagons in your neighborhood. I preach these three things in the world, and this comes from Nut and Fancy. If you don't know who Nut and Fancy is, I don't know what rock you've been under, but on YouTube. But he talks about three different kinds of people, and there's the sheep. The other group they call them wolves. I call them coyotes, because they don't deserve the term of being a wolf. And then there's the sheepdog. And for those of us who are in the situation where we know how to carry a firearm all the time, we know how to shoot, where I think you and I both have a pretty extensive background in firearms training. You know how to do those things. You know how to take care of yourself in those situations and to be calm and put those shots on target. You need to be the sheepdog of your neighborhood. And there's nothing wrong with being a sheep, that some people just don't have that training, and some people aren't built with an aggressive nature, but if you do have that meekness where you have the ability and you know when to use it, that's the definition of being meek. If you've got that ability to do that, I think it's it's about time in our neighborhoods to start looking around, start circling those wagons and making sure that, if things get a little bit more heavy in the weeks to come, we're protecting each other and being good to each other as a society. So, yeah.
And that's definitely really something that a lot of people are talking about right now. They watch the news, they get in panic mode, but the truth is what you're talking about right now is truth in the matter. It needs to start happening. Looking out for everybody else is one thing that some people don't have inside them. It's either fight or flight mode. With you, you are definitely a fighter, Peter Kohler. I've seen you on Facebook, just talk to your people, and you're really inspiring just so many. So if you could say anything to your fans out there, I shouldn't say fans. I should say
they're not fans.
Family. They're not fans.
Thank you.
Say to your family members out there in your brotherhood or people who don't know who you are, what would you like to say to them?
I mean, if I could say anything right now, it would just be, my dad has a saying that we grew up with, that some people are the salt of the earth. And what my dad meant by that was that some people are the nutrients, that others can survive off of. And I guess in whatever way you can for the people around you is to be the salt of the earth, to be the person that is there for your neighbors, for your brothers and sisters as humans. It doesn't matter if they are straight or gay or black or white or Muslim or Buddhist or Christian. I'm a Christian guy, but it just really doesn't matter. That right now is that time period where you have to kind of let go of a lot of the ego and just be there for people. You got to take care of your family. We need to work hard. And I'm not sure if we're doing the right thing by cutting, by the direction of the country, cutting off our economics, hiding in our holes. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. I don't know what's right. But for the situation that we've been given, I think we need to put our egos and our anger aside and be there for one another, because this is not a test. This is your life.
I definitely agree with you there. I know you say that you're not really a big survivalist out there, but you're able to adapt to any environment. And obviously with changes that happen all the time, I mean, there's been situations that you've been through that we're able to watch through the brotherhood, and your adaptability is there. So you as a survivalist, you are, in so many different manners you could talk about this, but you really guide your group. And if you guys don't know what group we're talking about, it's the Dark Timber Brotherhood on Facebook. If you guys would like to join them, I have never seen so many people come together in a time of need that it wowed me.
I'm also trying to build an Instagram page right now.
Oh,
so people I'm going to give myself a little shout.
Okay, Peter. So on Instagram, I do believe I saw you on Dark Timber Customs. Is that the Instagram page?
Yeah, there's more than one, but that's because I'm not internet savvy, and I tried to have my sister make it for me, and then it didn't work out. But yeah, so Dark Timber Customs is the page to go to. I appreciate it. I appreciate it if you go to the Dark Timber Brotherhood. If you don't, though, I just want to say, I appreciate everybody for just sitting, listening to me talk. I always say, Ford and Ivy, I love you guys. They're my little babies, and they're my heart. I love all of my family. So, yeah.
I'm excited to have you on here, Peter, and definitely I will check out that Instagram page. I heard that manager is amazing, so I look forward to getting on there and leaving some comments from American Survival Guide magazine. And we look forward to you promoting us too, because we want to be a part of your growth as well. So if you guys don't know who this is Peter Kohler. You can find him on Instagram as Dark Timber Customs, and also on Facebook as Dark Timber Brotherhood, which is actually when people sign up for this, Peter, what do they have to put?
So just the big thing is that it's not an open page. It's a closed group. Just tell them you saw this video here. And we just, you don't go on there to promote your own work. That's my page. It's not a democracy. It is a dictatorship. And I am the supreme leader. So.
Well, that's exciting. So for any of you guys out there who don't know who this person is, Knife Maker, thank you so much for your wisdom and knowledge out there, Peter. We look forward to watching you go out there, and thank you for your ideas out there. For when you mentioned the sheepdog, that really meant a lot and inspiration. And tell your dad thank you for all the wisdom that he has given you. Definitely appreciate him. So thanks, Richard. And if you guys don't know who we are, American Survival Guide magazine, we will have him on Instagram as well as our Facebook, and make sure you guys stay tuned.
Be excellent to one another. Bye.